call to order the Burlington Airport Commission on April 21st. The first item on the agenda is the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda, but I have a proposed amendment to the agenda.
All right, Commissioner George, what's your amendment to the agenda?
I noticed that the letter of reappointment that was included in the board packet did not match the letter of reappointment that was circulated by you, Commissioner Keogh, on Friday. So I want to clarify that when we get to item 5.03, that it would be consideration of the version that was circulated by email and not the version that is included in the packet.
So your proposed amendment is on item, let's see.
It's 503.
503, the amendment there is to the content of the letter. That's your proposed amendment? Otherwise,
correct. It would not be the memo that was included in the board packet. And so I don't know what the proper protocol is for that.
Well, the proper protocol is to amend the agenda to include that item, that the letter item as you proposed in lieu of the one that was presented as an amendment to the agenda.
Okay, then that would be what I move. Yes.
Is that clear to everyone?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Then is your vote is to approve the agenda as amended, Tim?
Yes.
I will second that.
Motion been second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, no. We have an agenda. Next item is a public forum. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the commission? If so, speak up, because I can't see all of you, I don't think. Anyone? Going once? Twice?
Well, I believe we have an individual who I have just permitted to talk.
Hi, good evening. Good afternoon. My name's Bryn Oakleaf. I'm the counselor for Winooski. I'm sitting in for Mayor Lott this afternoon, just letting you know that we have Winooski representation here.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Are you in the council, Bryn?
I am, yes.
This your first term?
This is, yes. I was elected in March.
Wow. So you're sort of a rookie, huh?
To the council, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for, again, as Jean said, thank you for being here. Anyone else? Anyone else?
No rookie. I can tell you, she's a very committed community member, and I serve with her on the board at the Green Up Vermont, and very good person.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item is the consent agenda, the minutes and employments. Does somebody want to make a motion?
I move that we take the appointments data and put it on file, and I move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting and put them on file.
Is
I
there
will second.
any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, no. So ordered. Next item is action items, a contract with Highlight Airfield Services for runway pavement markings. If I did not anticipate chairing the meeting, I do have a motion. So I will accept the motion to recommend the approval to the City Council for a contract between the airport and Highlight Airfield Services for the installation and supply of painting markings for, as described in the airport memo of April 12th, 2021 from Jean Richards. I'll accept that as a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, then number second. This is pretty simple. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, no. So ordered. The next item is a budget neutral amendment on the airport for the airport budget. I'll make a motion and I'll ask someone really to make it for me. Recommend approval to the city council to approve the neutral amendment as described in the airport memo of April 21st, 2021 from Gene Richard. Someone want to make that motion?
I will make that motion.
Is there a
I will
second?
second.
Second. A quick discussion, Marie. That seems pretty simple.
Yes, I'm happy to provide that. So what we're doing here is this is just amending several accounts that we needed. We found that we had some expenses that were coming up and we wanted to increase the budget to cover those items. There's multiple items in the capital account. There's actually various items in there. Some of it had to do with some electric lawnmowers that we were purchasing and a new paint machine. So it was multiple items in the capital account. And in the repair and maintenance, we wanted to make sure that we had enough money in there to cover the highlight contract that you just approved, as well as additional painting that we have to do. This is a safety and it's required by the FAA for us to maintain a certain standard of markings on the all the taxiways and the runways to make them safe for the pilots or anybody that is using those out there on the airfield. And so that is what we're doing to prepare for keep everything safe and prepare for an upcoming inspection this summer.
Good. Thank you. Any questions of Marie? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, no. All opposed, no. So ordered. Next item is a Director of Aviation reappointment memo as amended. Is there a motion to, I guess, approve that, but we'll see how it goes.
Yes, I will move that we adopt the memo as conveyed on the email that you sent Commissioner Keough on April 16th.
There's a second to that.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Questions, comments? What happened?
Bill, are you there?
I lost everybody. Did someone hack my machine?
We can
It's still,
hear you.
We all see you, Bill, and we can hear what you're saying. So at
Well,
least that part's working.
We can hear you.
okay, but I can't see anything. Let me.
Can you hear us?
Okay, well, all right, so have discussion. Someone discuss that while I screw around with this.
Sure. I'll just take a moment to thank Gene for, this is quite a year that the airport has had since the last time we've had this conversation. There certainly has been a lot going on, and I think Gene has been an excellent leader over these last 12 months in keeping the airport steady as it can be in these turbulent times. And I'm really thrilled with the job that Gene and the airport staff has done. I also want to thank everyone for taking the time to allow us as commissioners to review the letter and have time to digest it and make a couple edits, as opposed to in the past where we've been presented at a meeting and asked to approve it at the meeting. I think this was a positive change, and so I'm thankful for that as well.
I would support those comments. Jean, I think you've done a great job, and I think this is a very substantial and laudatory list of things that you have addressed and moved the airport forward. So thank you for your leadership and certainly the teamwork.
If I could just say one thing, the key thing that you both said is team, and we would not have gotten through this year without each and every one of them working incredibly hard. It was a challenging year to work at all, as you all know, but some people worked from home and worked very hard. Some people came in, took the risk, worked very hard. And I could not be more proud of the team, and it's a privilege to be the team leader here. And I just feel very fortunate to be able to work with such a talented group of people. And that is the real true purpose of the progress that we've made this year, is because of the team, also the commission, also downtown. We're very fortunate. Our community, our state has made many good moves, and I'm glad I can tell you that I have 2 shots, 2 vaccinations, and I can't tell you how great that feels. So I know we may have a booster coming, but I am expecting that life will return and that we'll all, be in a different place very soon. But I want to give all my thanks to the team. Truly, it's been a pleasure to work with them this year. Bill?
Sorry, I was trying to manage some stuff in the house here, but yeah, I just want to offer my thanks as well to Gene and the airport crew. No matter what line of work we're in, it was a challenging year, but aviation and has been hit incredibly hard, and so I feel really fortunate that we have such an amazing team working, and happy to support your reappointment, Gene. I was a little confused, Tim. Can you just walk through what you were describing as terms of the difference between letters?
Yeah, there were it wasn't substantial. There were a couple changes in the version of the letter that Bill had circulated on Friday in comparison to the letter that was in the packet officially. So I just wanted to clarify that we were adopting the letter that had been circulated amongst the commissioners and not the original draft that had come from the airport.
Okay, I apologize if I missed that.
We need someone to probably chair for a minute. I don't see Commissioner Kehoe right now.
Yeah, I can do that if we need to. So is there any further discussion on the letter?
So are we approving something other than what's in the packet, Tim?
Yes, it would be the version that Commissioner Kehoe circulated on Friday.
If you could just give me a second to review that.
Sure, absolutely. I don't want to rush you. That's fine.
Tim,
Yes, Gene.
do we have a quorum?
I think so, because Jeff and Helen and I are here.
Okay. Helen, you're still with us?
Pardon me?
You're still with us, right? I just.
Oh,
wanna
yeah,
check.
yeah. You're right. If I turn the video on, I get frozen. So
No, don't do that. I just want to make sure you're still with us.
I am.
Tim, I apologize. I don't see that email. Could you forward it? Do you have it?
Yes, it's on my other computer, so hold on just a second.
We can certainly go ahead with other agenda items if.
Well, generally speaking, Jeff, there was a small grammatical change that has been incorporated in the packet one, and then a sentence was added that identified our interest and willingness to continue to work cooperatively with management on different, all the topics.
Oh.
It just includes
Yeah.
our.
You know what? I just found it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, Tim.
I think
Okay,
those-
that's all right.
I believe those were the only changes.
Yeah, I'm supportive. So I'm ready to vote. Thank you.
It's pretty
Okay.
simple.
All right, so all of those in favor of the reappointment memo as outlined last Friday, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you again, Gene and team, for your service in the past year.
Thank you.
Item 6.01 is the financial package. Marie, are you ready to present?
I sure am. So, hello everyone, and quick highlights for what you have in your packets. I'm just going to go through them, the bulletins on the financial highlights report. The CARES Act, that is the first stimulus grant that we got for $8.7 million. We have been spending that down. As of the end of January, we've been reimbursed a total of $6.1 million. And that is made up of funds that we used a little bit, about a little under $3 million for the, well, $2.2 million for last year. And then the rest of it we've spent this year in this fiscal year. For February, we're going to be able to draw down under the stimulus money about $705,000. Helps us to cover all the expenses that we have and bring our debt coverage ratio to within a healthy range. I also mentioned in here that there was an additional stimulus package that was approved at the end of December that we recently received. We recently received that in April. We actually received the grant award, and that the FAA has signed it, and all the parties at the airport have signed it, and the city have signed it. So that money is now available for us to begin using whenever we need to use it. So that's pretty big deal that we have 2.5 under the original CARES Act, and now we have another $4 million under the additional stimulus money. Additionally, there was a relief bill that was passed earlier this year by the federal government, and it also will contain some stimulus monies for airport. That we've had some projections on what that might be, but nothing is written in stone, and the FAA has not actually formally told us what we're going to get. But that looks like it will be a sizable amount that we will be getting additional monies that'll be coming, probably over the next few months we will be hearing. So I will keep the board informed as we get that information and as we get the updated numbers on that. The debt coverage score was 1.42 as of the end of February. That is taking into consideration we are able to use these stimulus monies and cover our expenses, essentially, reimburse ourselves for expenses. And that's a really good thing because our revenues obviously have been impacted by having less people fly through. Our year-to-date revenues through January was about $6.8 million. That is before we add the monies for the CARES Act grant. We added about $4.6 million in CARES Act. The operating revenues, just to compare, give you an idea, through January compared to the prior same period, we had our total revenues were $8.6 million lower in the first 7 months of our fiscal year. And this is due to less people flying, a lot less people flying, and less revenues all the way around. So it gives you some perspective on just the impact of this fiscal year, which I think is always very interesting to compare. And I highlight a few of the largest revenues that we've seen declines in. Of course, parking is our number one. We'll say our revenues that are lower. We were lower about $3.6 million lower. Rental car revenue concessions were about $1.1 million lower. CFCs are at $853,000 lower, and landing fees were $779,000. So you have all the detail, and you may have questions on any of all of that. The expenses year to date were about $8.3 million for the first 7 months. And right now we're trending about $900,000 in our expenditures and our operating expenses compared to the same period in the prior fiscal year. Again, we've been trying to manage what we can safely without jeopardizing anything or any repairs that need to be done or any safety issues at the airport. So it's always something we have in our mind as we go through, but a lot of things are set in stone, like salaries and a lot of the operational costs. We don't have a lot of opportunity to lower them. So some of the savings that we had so far this year, we spent less on repairs and maintenance. We've had less things that we've had to do. Some of that is because we've done a lot in the past few years, and we have some things have been replaced, may have hit their useful life. And so we've had less things breaking and needing to be replaced this year. We also had less use of having, we had some savings in our de-icing materials. It snowed, but it didn't, I guess, we'll probably be using some today, I'm certain. We never get away from it. But we overall, for the year, we kind of had a consolidated use where we had to use it, and we didn't have to order as many of those sorts of things. We also are saving in some overtime. Again, some of that is active management, and I thank the team for that. And some of that is just with less big snow events. And less things breaking, you have less people having to come in on overtime. So it's a combination. The AIP receivable was about $2.8 million. That is what we are owed. And, you can see from the schedule, a lot of that is actually from our newest grant, the TIP grant. So we will be able to begin drawing down on that relatively soon. We're working with the FAA to hash that out right now. And then a bunch of our grants just have like little bits of money that is still out there that we can go after. We do not have any money that's been drawn down on the grant anticipation note, though I'm always monitoring that. If we are paying things that we know we won't get reimbursed for a while, that is what it's there for. And I do anticipate we will draw down on that. And I mentioned this last month, but the airport did receive a very large grant for our terminal integration project. And that was a $14.5 million federal grant. That's 90%. They're covering 90% of that particular grant. And we had received the Chris grant award, which I talked about earlier. That's the second stimulus package. Our cash is the end of March was $12.8 million. That is what we had in we'll say our day-to-day checking account, so to speak. And we did not owe the city any money. And I also mentioned, and I kept it on here just to re-highlight, that we were able to close on those bonds, the refinance bonds. We did that in March. And so that I'll probably remove that note from here for next time, but I just sort of left it on there because it was pretty new. And that is my financial report. But does anybody have any questions for me?
Marie, thanks. That was great, and great job as always getting us information. I guess I'm sort of interested to hear you and maybe Jean or others talk about what you're projecting for sort of recovery. And obviously, it can change depending on effectiveness of vaccines, et cetera, variants. But just, is there a point at which you assume we'll be back to pre-pandemic? Is it not even worth projecting that at this point?
We're not. Canada, as you know, is about 20%, 17 to 20%, and that's not even moving right now. They're talking about, I heard on VPR today, they're hitting 70% in July, but it just seems to be a bit of a crapshoot. And then our international travel, it looks like it's going to be well into next year. They are, in some places, are just way behind. So I don't see those two areas, as well as business travel, recovering, for at least a year. So what I think will help us is the pent-up demand for people to travel, just general vacations and people just wanting to do something. So I think we'll pick up a little bit there. I think we'll end up using, our grants. These are good for 4 years, as I think Marie said. And, we will try not to use, everything we have, and we'll try to leverage our position. We've certainly put good tools in place to make sure that we didn't have the pressure on us to have to, spend the grants and to spend them slowly. So I think the answer to your question is, I think we're probably a year away from that. And that'll be what I call a new norm. And there just seems to there's a lot of unknowns, as you know, Jeff. I looked today at even businesses for sale in Burlington, and it was a little shocking. So I don't think what we had will be the same. I do think there'll be more personal travel and less business, and potentially more international. And so I think the dynamics of it will be a little different in a year from now. So Personal travel, I think we'll see that uptick, and business down. But saying that, I think July, it looks like all of our numbers are going up. And so July and August, I think, are going to be very, very good. And I think we're going to see some of our highest numbers this year in those months. Then when we go back to school, I think it's going to drop down. And we'll start, I would say, heading towards whatever the new normal will be. Does that help, or is that just a bunch of mush to you? I mean, that's just my gut.
No, it makes sense.
All right.
Yeah, I have a question just to sort of follow up. So, or to clarify. So when you talk about international travel, that's really the Canadian travel?
No, it isn't. It's actually,
it's something additional.
It's people leaving, not from Canada, and leaving, from Burlington and going internationally. And so there's,
okay.
there's those people, it's like, not everybody, goes to Canada to travel. Some people leave from Burlington, and those people that leave from Burlington aren't going to probably be leaving from Burlington. It'll be a very small number the rest of the year is what I'm assuming.
Okay, and then just in light, we certainly had some really good new news with the added travel to Boston, and then the direct flight to Texas. And I'm just curious, given your guessing really, or prediction of it's going to take a year to really get this going again. What do you think prompted those two airlines to kind of take that step now, before things really seem to be reflective of greater pent-up demand and follow-through?
We were part of a program with American Airlines where they did that, I think, at 50 other airports. So what they did is they spread that type of, like, it's the 1 day a week Dallas. They did it many other airports. And so we're an experiment. So what they're doing is airports that, Dallas is Burlington's, we do about 17,000 people in 2019 went to Dallas from Burlington. And so that's like our number 16th best market. So they're experimenting with it to see what's in it. And so that right there is a, seasonal experiment. So, but it could pan out really well for us. And it really has to do with, how well it does. And it's either going to die or it may have a new life. And it may go to daily service when it's done, or a year from now. Boston, I think that's like a no-brainer, why they did it. It fits with boutique really well. I think they have the aircraft that they're using at other airports in upstate New York, and this is a way to make it more efficient, to burn, to keep it flying all day. We have asked, I met with them, not to be greedy with them or anything, but immediately, once they announced that, I asked them for morning exits and evenings returns from Boston. I said that will work best for anybody, both vacationers and business folks. I said the lunch thing's nice, but it doesn't really fit, a typical Vermonter. You would go down to either make a connection, which is really nice because they're connected to both American and United, and they're in the same terminal, but you probably are not going to want to do that midday. And so we're working on that with them right now. And if we can pull that off, we'll probably get, leave in the morning. You can return at lunch and leave right after lunch, and then come back at night. So I'm going to push really hard for that. And I think that will make that a very successful market. Good news is they sold 150 seats in the first 9 days or 8 days or something from announcement. So they said they typically do a couple a day, and they're very happy with those numbers. And we will be doing our inaugural flight the 29th, Shelby. And so you're all welcome to come to the ribbon cutting of that if you'd like.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a whim.
I had one question, which it sort of piggybacks on Jeff's original question, which is, I know that the start of the new fiscal year is coming up for the city. So where are we at in terms of crafting a budget for fiscal 22?
Marie, you're all done, right?
Just about, yeah. We're really close to wrapping it up and the budget. And it's a good time where we've had, a lot of experience. I should say it's not great with COVID and trying to project out. I mean, Jeff, your question gets right to the heart, right? What do you project for revenues and all sorts of those things? But we're just about done with the budget and putting it together. We'll submit it downtown. They typically will have budget meetings downtown. The end, I don't know what they're doing this year. I'm going to assume it's the end of May or, around there that I don't think they've announced it yet, but they'll have a series of budget meetings where departments will probably have some opportunity to present. Last year, they skipped a lot of that because of COVID. So perhaps by as soon as next month, you may see your first draft of next year's budget. We're very fortunate in that we've gotten these additional grants and we know an additional one is coming. And we also have a reprieve of the debt service for next year. So that is going to be very helpful in terms of it's making a huge impact on balancing that budget, which was quite the challenge that we had last year. The team, we spent a tremendous amount of time. I spent a tremendous amount of time with Jean and with Shelby and with Nick trying to develop our budget, like over and over and over. We went back over through that thing because it was changing pretty much, daily, trying to figure out what those right numbers were. And that money, the grant money came in at the end of April. So, that we were told. So we'll do the same thing this year. We're in I feel a lot more confident this year as we project out into next year, that we've got a good handle on it. And we also have some good supplementation from the stimulus money that will continue to help us until our revenues are able to get back to those pre-COVID levels, until the employments get to where they need to go.
Marie?
Yes.
Will you check with Rich or Catherine? There should be 4 days in May that we're going to be doing budget. And we just get when our meeting is. I think they have the dates for us.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jean.
All right, any other questions or comments on the financial package? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to 6.02 construction update. Larry, what do you have for us?
All right. As you know, in your package, I submitted the update for you. Construction started on the Remain Overnight Apron Phase 7-1. We received the partial grant that we bid last year to get that going. So we'll get 7-1 done first. And with respect to maneuverability with aircraft, we'll do 6A, which we received the grant a couple of years ago to do. That should all be done about September. We prepared this week a grant for the remaining $6.5 million, which will be submitted next week, which will require both some of our entitlement in hopes there's discretionary for us so we can get the rest of the money, all $6.5 million to finish that apron. Although with the entitlement, $1 million or so of it has to go to another priority project, which I'll get to in a minute. I provided some pictures of the excavation going on before the sub base, the bituminous concrete, then the Portland cement concrete on top of that. So, and you'll see the drainage, infrastructure that needs to get worked around and realigned and stuff where needed.
So Larry, how deep does that go?
4 feet.
4 feet, okay.
Yeah, so actually the concrete on top will be 14 inches thick. Below that is the bituminous concrete, which is 6 inches. So you're going to have 20 full inches of base above the sub base of soil.
Okay.
Yep. Cleaning. We've scheduled everything to finish up the cleanup for Taxiwiggle Phase 2 with all the new we only did one layer of the markings last year because we knew we were just entering winter, so we saved that second for this spring. So we would do those along with what Shelby put out for an RFP, and you just approved for the rest of our markings. So we have nice fresh markings this year. real date update. Draft master plan has been submitted to the FAA. They're reviewing it. The TIP project, we a few weeks ago had our sketch plan review with the South Burlington DRB. Went very, very well. We then immediately within 2 days submitted for site plan approval. They didn't make us do preliminary plat and final plat. They allowed us just to go to site plan approval. And that was 2 weeks ago or so. And we just received comments on that application. We've got a couple of minor adjustments we have to make, which we're making today and tonight and tomorrow, and get that back in so we can get scheduled. Our hope and our goal was, because of last Friday was the deadline, to make May 18th for the site plan review for the South Burlington DRB. Act 250 has already issued a draft permit. It's been noticed, and all other stormwater, water, wastewater permits are in. It's just a matter of public notice periods and review. The new security system is being installed right now. I would have taken pictures of this, but it's just, they're just pulling wire right now. So there's really not much to see. Little good news, we did receive the draft offer for $650,000 for the design of the inline baggage system, the updated baggage system. We are reviewing that right now. We noticed some errors in their contracting document. So we went back to the project manager, and she's working with her contracting agent to fix that, because they were missing about $30,000. Chamberlain School, we're just going through this, finishing up the shop drawings. We're finalized the contract, and we completed the notice on the Buy American. So we're set to go as soon as school closes and we're able to do that work. Sound installation pilot project, that grant application was drafted this week. I'm just working out some of the final numbers between the consultant and the IFE consultant. So we have a little discrepancy there, but we're working that out. But that'll be submitted next week with our other grant applications for about $1.2 million for that grant application. The environmental assessment, the FAA asked us, this really isn't a really big priority. So they asked us to put this off for a year because we've got other priorities this year. The stormwater and UIC permit management assistance, compliance assistance that you reviewed and approved a month or so ago, all the contract is complete, and we moved forward with the new consultants, and they're doing an awesome job. Hotspot remediation project, that's out to bid. At least it's been broken up into 2 phases though, because the lighting part of it's going to be bid with an alternate as the mill and overlay on Taxiway Charlie, which really needs it, but it dependent on where the buckets of money are coming from with respect to the FAA. So I'm going to have to do a separate grant for the mill and overlay for Taxiway C. However, they might both get issued, and we'll still end up doing it with one contractor, but we got to divvy it between 2 grants. But so the NOAA, the National Weather Service upgrades, the bids came in. Engelberth Construction was the apparent low bidder. However, NOAA's National Weather Services portion, who we worked with GSA Government Services came in significantly higher than what they put away for. So they are currently reviewing the alternates and stuff like that. And I'm working with them to determine how we move that forward. So that's actually GSA called me today. I called them back, but I haven't heard back from them. Noise monitoring, we visited all 3 locations for the monitors to go in. We've drafted draft easements for the communities, South Burlington one at the Chamberlain School, and Winooski at the town office, and then also at Williston at the town garage. However, we've drafted up the leases. We have to, because this is FAA money, we have to have a signed lease with each community for those locations. So it goes in what we call an Exhibit A, which is our property map that the FAA reviews. So we have to get these leases in place. We obviously have to have the city council bless the leases. So that's in progress right now. So that's all I have right now, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for Larry?
Not for me.
All right.
Good report.
Thank you.
Then we'll move on to 7.01, South Burlington seat update. Ellen, what do you have for us?
I don't have an update other than, I've checked about the pending discussion about potential rezoning around the airport. We're still trying to finish up, the Planning Commission is trying to finish up our interim zoning efforts. And then Paul Connor just went on paternity leave. So that's not going anywhere for a while, but it is on my visual scope and memory scope. So I will continue to update you on where we are with that. I think it's an important discussion that needs to be had.
Oh, and in a few sentences, can you share what that rezoning effort is encompassing?
Well, I don't know. That's the conversation that has to happen. I think there are areas of land that the airport owns that seem to be a reasonable site or places for rezoning from wholly or only residential to, industry or mixed use. But it's, the challenge is you try to stay away from spot zoning. So legally, whatever you decide holds up well in court. So I don't really know all the variables with that. And that's what I think the Planning Commission and the Zoning and Planning Department need to kind of figure out and bring to the City Council. But I think there is some interest.
Can I add on to that, Helen?
You certainly may, because you know more about it than I.
And also working with Kevin Dorn, and they asked us to submit a letter, which shall be put together last month. And we submitted a letter, and it's basically all the land north of the dog park off of Kirby Road. And it's the most, probably that would have the least amount of issues with neighbors. Mm-hmm. And it makes the most amount of sense. So that is where we requested. It's also, we've had a lot of interest in that area from other aviation use. And it just, we decided that we wouldn't take on all the land, that we would just take on that piece and then go from there. So that is what we've asked for, Tim, is that area. And
how many acres is that, Gene?
It's probably close to 10 acres, 15
Okay.
acres. It's not a big deal, but it's between, Airport Road and Parkway and the airport. So it's really has very little effect on anybody. And it's just very dormant, and we maintain it, as you all know, when you drive through the airport. We have park-like conditions, and we want to make sure we're a good neighbor, but at some point, for all of our sake, we've got to figure out how this land should be used moving into the future to best complement our community. And, to have wasteland is not good for anybody. It's not producing its highest and best taxes for the city, and certainly isn't working well for the airport, because we just have to maintain it and make it look pretty. Which we do, and we are committed to doing that.
I would just note, Kevin Dorn is retiring June 30th, I guess is the last day of June. But he has continues to update and work with Jesse Baker, Winooski's current manager, who will be joining us, I think June 1st. So there'll be a lot of overlap that has already occurred. So I think I haven't had the conversation with her, but I'm guessing that she would be amenable to that kind of discussion and ultimately some changes. I can never predict the councils where they might land, but I think there is certainly I think a quorum that would support some reuse or changes.
All right, thank you, Helen.
Welcome.
Next up is 8.01 Director's Report. Gene, what do you have?
So we've gone over the new service, thrilled to death about it. I think it really sets us off, for this coming out of COVID. It's a lot of excitement. People are pretty jazzed about it. It's a win-win for us. And so I think you're excited, we're excited. I tried to reach out to all of you to let you know, and I have received tremendous feedback, from the community. They're just jazzed about it. The beta the beta relationship is going very, very well. They're getting ready in the next couple of weeks to remove the north annex of the north hangar and to start building the new one. The south annex is probably half done, and they are just doing great things. We had a planning meeting Shelby and I did with them this week to go over the other campus locations that they're interested in. And, we've had some conversations with Kevin about it as well, Kevin Dorn, to keep him updated. But there's some really positive, great news there, and I'm sure you've all seen, the UPS options and purchase, and as well as the other purchase that they had of their aircraft. So really good things are happening over there, and that really will be great for the airport. It's an electric aircraft. It's really what our future is about. And they've been flying every day at the airport, practicing, and it's really great to watch them. The crew is just doing a great job. So I'm very happy. As you all know, growth in Vermont, growth in Chittenden County isn't easy. So I am trying to be extremely supportive and encouraging and flexible with them to have them at the airport. They have lots of other choices throughout the United States to be, and probably a lot less than being at the airport. But the state still has been very attractive to them, and I'm going to do everything I can to partner with them, work with them, complement them, to see if we can get them to stay. It would be a real win-win for the airport. They seem to bring, great things to everything they do. QTA, you all know that we put together, a new QTA over the last year and a half or so, and the parking folks, the rental car folks are been a little challenging to work with. And we have hired Joe Neal to work with us, and we will be writing them a letter in the next day or so. Marie has, run the numbers with them, and they have been fickle as far as keeping their commitments. So you may, hear or feel some, vibration from the letter we're going to be sending them. It's really important to me on all our partners is that when you make an agreement, you honor it. And, if we build something for you, you must hold your end of the agreement. And I'm not really getting that. I'm getting, it's been really challenging. So without going into it any more than that, I may be reaching out to you all in the next few weeks and letting you know the direction we may be going in. We have solicited the entire aviation community, asking how things are going. And we may be doing what Vermonters do. We may be creating our own concession for rental cars if this doesn't go in a good way. It's a $25 million a year business. And it's really, really important that we do not fund it for them. There's a lot of money in this business, and they play hardball with us a lot, and we're gonna basically hold them to their agreements that they have made in the past. We have no room to subsidize them, and if we're gonna subsidize them, we might as well look for an additional concessionaire which we will probably be putting out a new RFP within, what'd you say, Shelby, 60 days, 30 days?
Yeah, before the end of the fiscal year.
So, yeah, so that's it. I don't really have a lot more details, and I would be more than happy to chat with you and keep you up to snuff if any one of you have interest in it. But it's been a challenge for me over the last 12 months, and they want something that we haven't given anybody else. So let me see. I think all in all, morale is better than it's been in a long time. We're, I would say, ahead of things as far as the condition of the operation. The team has really come together, even though people are taking time off, and they're all working really hard and doing great things. So I'm very happy. Generally, the condition of the airport. You heard Larry's projects, which are overly impressive. When what Larry speaks of is what we all work on every day. Larry takes the lead on a lot of those, but Nick Longo, as you know, is thick into the projects, and there's just a lot of really good things happening for the community. The sound program, we're being diligent on that. I really think, for Winooski, Williston, South Burlington, we want to stay. We want the highest standard for that program. And I had a discussion with Diane, this morning about that, who heads that up for us, one of our consultants, and just let her know the quality of what we expect from it. So I think everybody's working hard. We're trying to give you and give the community the very best. There's just a lot going on right now. And that's all I have right now. Any questions?
I just wanted to let you know and everyone know that Bill is on FaceTime with me, so he can hear you. He just wanted me to make sure everyone knew.
Okay. And one other thing, I did meet with Do Construction about the hotel. It's probably not likely that's going to start this year. Just like the report I gave you on the numbers, they're going to wait for those numbers and for our community, the hotels to, to firm up in our community before they build another. And that makes really good sense to me. The last thing we would want is to have a hotel that is not full and isn't going to be successful. So we're going to let those numbers, they said probably a year from now, we would be breaking ground. Is last discussion I had this week with them. I have met with Skinny Pancake and our other concessionaires. I did meet with Shelby, and I met with Dunkin' Donuts. They inquired about coming into the airport. We do have a Vermont reinforcing Vermont policy, but we also I have to have a loyalty to the concessionaires we currently have there. I wouldn't want to bring another concessionaire in currently until the other ones are whole and have recovered from COVID. And typically the other concessionaires spent $1 million, and they're talking about bringing in some sort of cart. And that could take probably 30% of the morning business. So I want to be real careful. If you do talk to any of the Dunkin' Donuts people, I want to be sensitive to what we do, and that's to every concessionaire. I want to make sure we're healthy before we bring in more. I certainly want to take care of the need, and I've discussed that with Skinny and with Hudson, but not at the expense. I don't want to bring others in at the expense of the ones we have. It's worked out really well for us so far. And that's it. Oh, last thing. Second gentleman came in today, and I think the mayor met with him, and I believe he's been in and out now. And my understanding is that a very good visit.
Great. Any follow-up comments or questions for Jean?
No, sounded good. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Just one little question about the vehicle turnaround thing. Is part of the issue, and I don't need you to go into the gritty details, but is part of their hard negotiating related to the challenges that COVID has presented for that whole industry?
Or
Or are they just really trying to squeeze out every dime?
a little bit of both.
Okay.
You know, in all fairness, you know, we had Marie give them a pretty decent breakdown of everything. We let them know that the steps we were taking to preserve the airport. But I just feel, you know, that much of what they're talking about, they're being opportunist and they're trying to negotiate their current position. And, you know, I discussed it with the mayor as well. And I said, I'm completely fine, you know, creating something new and different for Burlington. I love having them there. It's been a really good relationship, but it's nothing that I want to fund. You know, we have a very good infrastructure. It's in amazing shape. And this is, we're in a pretty good position to negotiate, especially if we're going to carry the debt.
Okay, thank you.
Tim and Jeff, you agree with that type of thing, right? I mean, we don't want to, you know, it's, you know, want to make sure we hold our position. And if we're going to carry debt, then we should, you know, the deal should change.
Right, and it sets a dangerous precedent if you're starting to deal with different tenants of the airport in different ways. It's, you know, consistency is going to be important in that regard.
Thank you.
Oh, I totally support that as well. And I think you're a good negotiator, it appears, Jean. So I'm comfortable with you working this out or finding another solution.
Some days, but this has been a challenging one. We have, Shelby has put a lot of effort into it, and Marie, and you know, they've really, they pushed really hard. And this week, it was too much. And, you know, I just called Jill and Eileen. I said, I'm done. And I said, go ahead and send the letter. And that's just how I feel. I think sometimes you have to be strong enough to stand up, and sometimes you have to be prepared to leave the room. And what I know about this team and Burlington is this is an opportunity if they decide not to come back to the table. And that is it.
All right. Thank you, Jean. Next up is item 9, commissioner items. We actually have one specific item, which is 9.01 sound data. I noticed that in the packet that was sent out, it actually said document to be added March 15th. So I'm not sure if we're going to be receiving something or if that's going to be presented during this meeting. Is there something specific on the sound data?
Hi there, I will share my screen with you. We have a list that Bill had asked for at the last meeting. I will share one moment. All right, so we did another sampling on the 2nd from our website that had all of the submissions. We had about 15 new submissions, but again, largely in the new North End, in the old North End area. So I'll switch to this next screen. You see this here. This is a list of that we added to our ongoing submissions. It's a list of unique addresses. So this is what Bill, I think, had in mind about, he just wanted to know how many people from what area or what unique address were repeat callers. So the ones that I've highlighted in red, the one was from the New North End, he had 38 callers, another 104.
Sorry to interrupt, Hannah. We're still seeing the map and we're not seeing the spreadsheet.
All right, can you see it now?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
So I can share this with you. commissioners, but we had 4 individual callers, or I should say unique addresses. So 2 from the New North End, one at 38, one had an 104, one from the Old North End with 16, and one from South Burlington with 10. So the rest of these are under 4 calls or less. So it just gives a little bit more information about from what area people are, or from what unique address we have, how many calls.
Anna, what's the time period on those?
What's that?
What is the time period?
So this comes back, this added to our master list, which is from the fall. But in the last time that we presented this, I think we had 10 new submissions.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting that there are, I think it's what we thought it might be the case, that there might be a few people that are, extreme repeat callers about noise complaints. But it does show that there's a pervasive level of noise concern in our community.
Yeah, so I'm happy to share that with the commissioners, and if you'd like to present it differently, just let us know.
Okay. Shelby, can you ask, I know that this is an issue of particular importance for Bill. Can you ask him if he has anything that he wants to ask about this?
Bill, Tim had just asked if there's anything you would like to add to this.
No, except that should be a separate item on the agenda and not under commissioners' items.
Okay.
That should be a regular, sound data should be a separate item on the agenda,
Bill,
outside of commissioners' items.
would you like that on the consent agenda, or would you? No. Okay. It's an action.
The only other comment I would like to make is I was technically absent from the discussion from item 5.03 through 6.01.
Thank you. We'll make sure Mary Ann gets that.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one question on this data? And maybe I asked it last time and I can't remember. There's another option for people to make complaints directly to the Air Guard, and those calls are not reflected in these. Is that correct?
That's correct, Helen.
Okay, so to get to Tim's point, sort of understanding where the hot spots are, it looks like South Burlington has very few complainers, and I am guessing that there are far more, and they're sending their noise complaints to the Air Guard, so they aren't captured, because they're probably related to the military aircraft noise and not a specific commercial issue.
Shelby, a question.
Oh, Bill had a question here.
Question is, could the Vermont Air National Guard submit a similar report to the commission?
I am not sure, but
Could we ask?
I can see what we are able to obtain.
Okay.
And your ask would be to have data as it relates to noise complaint line?
Yeah,
Okay.
similar to what we do.
All right. Did everyone else get that as well?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Any other discussion on the sound data? All right, any other commissioners' items for today?
Well, I would just make a suggestion that as a commission, we often ask for reports like the noise or complaints and other things. And, given how busy the staff is and everyone else, I think it's easy to forget items, or they just can't be addressed at the next meeting, but in a future meeting, they could be. How we handle that at the city council level, because it happens to us as well, is to really have what we call a parking lot. And it's just a list of items that either the public or commissioners have, or council people have raised that aren't ready for prime time or a discussion, but we don't want to forget them. And that might be a good way to remind all of us, oh yeah, someone made this comment 3 months ago, and we should either agree to take it off the list, we're not going to consider it, or find an appropriate time or agenda item to address that.
Sure, and Helen, not to jump the gun too much, but that's actually the next item on the agenda, which is something that we just recently created called follow-up items. And I think that, you know, that's the spot on the agenda where if there's anything that the airport staff is looking for from a commissioner, or if there's something that a commissioner is looking for airport staff to take action on, that's a spot where we can record those things. So, you know, in a sense, it is the parking lot of things that need to be done both by airport staff and by commissioners. So
Right. For some reason, I didn't have that on the agenda, so didn't mean to jump the gun.
That's okay. It's new. This is it's technically the second month it's on the agenda. I think it's the first month we'll be discussing it. But before we move to that, are there any other commissioner items? Okay, so then item 10 on the agenda is follow-up items. So again, this is the spot where we record action items that are supposed to come out of this meeting. So obviously the ask for Shelby to reach out to the Air National Guard on noise data is on there. Are there any other items that came up in today's meeting or in previous meetings where airport staff or commissioners are requested to take action?
Nothing for me other than just the follow-up on the rental car issue.
And Jeff, what are you looking for specifically in that regard? Just an update as to how that's progressing?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Is there, I don't know if Bill can hear me, or Shelby, if you can ask Bill if he has anything that should go in the follow-up items.
Shelby, I would really like to get a reorientation on the public right to know law. I've mentioned this before, and I think it's fallen through the cracks, but I think some of us ought to get some person who really knows the public right to know law and how we adhere to that, if at all. So I think that would be very informative for us and wise for us to do that, because it's very precarious. So I'd like to see that on the follow-up item or parking lot or whatever else you want to call it.
Noted, Bill. We got that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other follow-up items to go on the list? All right, so I see 3. I see Shelby to ask about the noise complaint data from the Air National Guard, an update on the rental car situation as it unfolds, and a reorientation on the public right to know. So those will be the 3 items that should be on the follow-up items list. Next item up on the agenda is item 11, adjournment. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All righty. There's never opposition to adjournment.
Right.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Tim, thanks for helping out today, and thank you all for being
Thanks,
here.
Tim.
Bill,
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shelby. Appreciate it.
You got it. Talk soon.